How to make an airplane. Step 1. Cockpit. Step 2. Put jet fuel in. Step 3. A jet engine. Any of these are jet engines. Anything that does not use oxidizer. So, that's all you need, right? No. Jet engines. Oops. Jet engines need to have air. And to get air, they need something called an intake. This can be done by putting radial intakes on, cone intakes on, adding a fuselage intake, or even a pre-cooler. These all add air. But you only generally need one intake per engine at sea level. So, yeah. Then you're going to need wings. So, if you just put wings on, like that's not going to work very well. The reason is, this needs to have something called control surfaces, which means that you have to put things that divert the flow of air around them to force the plane in a certain direction. So you put these on, and because this does not have any tail, it's going to spin out of control. So you add a tail. Generally, having only a control surface for a tail is not a good idea, because it does not allow the plane to actually change course mid-flight. It just turns the plane. So just put some kind of wing on that doesn't do anything, that just sits there, like so. Also, you need to have this blue ball close to this yellow ball. Generally, it's a better idea to have it slightly behind it than too far behind it, and you want it to be behind it rather than in front of it. So if you have wings like this and the blue ball is really far back, the plane's going to pitch down really hard. So if you have big wings back here and the blue ball is really far behind, and this arrow is facing up, just add something called a canard to the front of the plane to help it control the pitch. And if you want your plane to have wings that are like more normal, just turn them down a bit. So yeah. Now we need wheels. So generally I like, for a single engine small plane, I just like these wheels because they're light and they aren't super hard to do. Generally, this is not going to work because the wheels are just too small sometimes. So as long as it is able to clear the ground without hitting the engine, like that, it should be fine. Make sure that the wheels are in a fairly straight line, everything's all lined up, and this should fly. Turn SAS on to help you control the plane. Make sure that you have your gear down. Once this plane starts getting into the air, it'll fly. Make sure you leave SAS on, otherwise you'll probably, because the center of lift is so far behind the center of thrust, it definitely does want to pitch down. As you can see, when I turn SAS off, it just wants to pitch down. But that's a better problem than having it try to always pitch up, because it means that your plane is unstable. So if your plane is too unmaneuverable, you can always add more control surfaces, or make the center of lift closer to the center of mass, which will decrease stability, but also increase the rate of turn. You can see this wing flutter that's going on. This means that I'm hitting a resonant frequency which causes the wings to flutter around. you can decrease the amount of wing flutter that you have. There's two ways to do that. One, you add stuff on the wing, which causes the wing to have some mass so it doesn't try to flutter around as much. Or you could just strengthen the connection between the wings and the fuselage by adding struts or using auto strut, which will make the wing more rigid and flutter less, which will also decrease. Whoops. Yeah, wings are not very strong. That's successful landing. He's still alive. Convert to spaceplane hangar. So the easiest way, in my opinion, to change the center of mass would just be to do this. But, well, I guess that's not the easiest way. The easiest way would just be to take this wing, and move it forward a bit, and then take the small wing and put it in the back. Now it actually looks kind of like a plane. And you can also make it angled up a bit, so there's actually going to be some lift. These wheels are extremely close together, so it's really unstable on the ground. So to do that, you can just increase the distance by separating them. I would generally recommend keeping them in the wing just for looking at it, because otherwise it looks kind of ugly. Or you could use larger wheels. But as long as that triangle, that line doesn't hit the engine, it should be fine, but it looks like it will, so I'm going to move them back a bit more. And if you hold shift, you can do stuff as far away from wherever you want as you like. So action groups, for action group 1, I'm just going to turn the afterburner on. And to reduce wing flutter, I'm going to put some struts on that wing. Struts are kind of ugly, so you can either use auto strut or just hide them, but they do make things a lot stronger. Pressing 1, you can turn on the afterburner and set it in action. So it'll pretty much double the power of the engine, or triple it. Plus and minus. So you can see that it's still not super maneuverable. So one of the reasons that this plane is not very maneuverable is that all of my control surfaces are pretty much on the same side of the plane. You have the back ones and then these ones, and they're all behind the center of mass. So when you pitch up, they all push down. Except these ones are not doing that. So you have to, if they're far behind the plane, you need to sometimes the control surfaces kind of glitch out, and these ones like to not really listen to what you're actually trying to do. So generally I like the middle ones to only have pitch and the edge ones to only have roll. So what I'm going to do is just give these ones less authority so that the roll responds faster. So Although they're not going to put as much roll force out, it does respond faster to roll. And then with these middle ones, I'm going to invert them so that they actually push down behind the center of mass to actually pitch the plane up, because they weren't doing that before. So now it should work a bit better. Most engines will be able to break the sound barrier if you have enough engines very much to grind you down. The afterburner is the landing is always hard. It's the hardest part flying generally. So you want to get your gear out, slow down quite a lot. If you can't really see the ground, turn the lights on. I have my settings pretty low to improve performance because this game really wrecks my computer. So yeah, and then you just land at a pretty shallow angle. Try to keep your vertical speed below 5 when you land. Unless you have a short runway, then you're going to need it to be higher. Once you touch down, turn brakes on. This plane has the back wheels really a lot higher than the front wheels, so it's going to be hard to get any traction while you're landing. So this might flip over and break. That's always a problem. So what you can do to solve that problem is have a thing called flaps, or I don't really know what the technical term is, but you press a button and all the flaps will all pitch up to force the plane against the ground. So for 2, I'll make it so that they deploy. So now if you click deploy, you'll see which direction it does. So then you just invert that to make it force the plane down. And if you still want to increase maneuverability, you can just add like small little flaps, like elevons, in the front of the plane, and it will significantly increase the maneuverability because it'll add lift. It'll add passive lift, so it'll lift the plane up, and it'll increase the amount, like the distance from the center that you're getting actual like authority from. I generally turn, if they're this close to the center, I turn yaw and roll off, and for this, for the tail one, I always turn pitch and roll off unless I want more roll control. For these guys, I generally turn yaw and roll off, and because they're generally more for pitch. If you want to get a running start, you can turn your engine on while the brakes are running, and then right as you're starting to move, you turn the brakes off and you'll shoot off more quickly. Good. And that was playing a lot more maneuverable. But the roll can still make sense. The plane is so maneuverable that the lift generated by the main wings can't keep up with the maneuverability, so you're going to have to turn that down a bit. And to turn the maneuverability down, you just turn the authority limiter on most of the pitch things by quite a bit. And if you want to increase your roll authority, you can put little flaps like this on the edge of the wing with just roll, and that'll generally increase your roll rate by quite a lot. When you're flying, make sure that you have your gear up, because having gear down really does increases your drag by a lot. And it's so much so that if you're at sea level, it'll be the difference between you breaking the sound barrier and like going 200 meters per second. planes are very light, so it takes off very quickly. Yeah, that's how you make a plane. The rules of the plane are keep the center of it slightly behind the center of mass, but that rule can be broken if you are advanced. But generally, it's not a good idea to have the lift too far from the center of mass. Thing. If you do that, it'll make the plane almost impossible to fly. And I'll show you what happens when you do that. So you have these open, the center of mass and the aerodynamics. If you move the center of lift in front of your center of mass by a significant amount, what will end up happening is instead of it working very well, like a plane, it'll turn into a not plane. I don't know, it'll just flip around a lot. And it is possible to control it if it is aerodynamically unstable, but it is really hard. So you just gotta be really careful. So with this plane, the center of lift is very far in front of the center of mass. So it might not even be possible. So watch. Instead, you saw what it was like before. If you hold down F, it'll like turn. So watch what happens if I hold F now. It'll like flip around and do weird stuff. That's almost impossible.